Hey everyone, this is Randy and Dan with the editor Q&A live. I'm Randy, former Green Beret, former Ranger. Now I'm an editor, ghostwriter, book coach. Got a couple books out there, a New York Times bestseller, some Amazon bestsellers that I've helped people get to the finish line. And Dan is one of the people that I helped get his book finished. And go ahead and introduce yourself, and Dan.
Yeah, hey Randy. Dan Pace here, retired Green Beret and now author. So I'm working on books 5 and 6 right now. And one of the things we want to do on this podcast is just share a lot of things we've learned, a lot of mistakes, a lot of hurdles. We were just talking about some failure-based learning that has gone into this process. And if this show could do nothing but help future guys who want to get into the writing business when they leave the military, or authors who are looking to just write about the military more intelligently. If this show can help you do that better and help you learn from our mistakes, then I'll call it a win.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and if anyone's on here live, you feel free to ask us any questions in the chat, and we'll, whatever, whether we're talking about that subject or not, we don't really care. We'll answer them. Today, I thought we dive into your new endeavor, which is Kickstarter. I'll give a little intro. So Kickstarter, I don't know. I'm not going to get all the dates right when it started and everything, but I always thought it was, well, it was a lot for gamers. They wanted to make games, and so they were trying to get funding for games. And there was a lot of other things that were on there. And I bought a few things back 5, 8 years ago off those things, and they're usually like 2 years late sometimes because they're still working and they hadn't finished making the game, and they made their money and they needed more money or something like that. And then authors started using it to kind of offset the cost of self-publishing, because as you know, Dan, it costs a lot of money. You have to buy cover, and you have to pay an editor, and you have to format, and you may have to buy some software. And so there's a lot of costs that go into that. And so some of them are starting Kickstarters as they were maybe finishing the book but hadn't got the cover, and they were using it to offset the developmental edit costs, which can be $2,000 or $3,000, and making 500, $5,000 which will probably offset most of your costs as a self-published author, at least a good chunk of it. And then in 2022, Brandon Sanderson, who is a really famous fantasy author, during COVID, he decided to launch 4 books that year, 4 novellas, I think they were. And he did his Kickstarter and made $41 million, the highest amount that was ever made on Kickstarter at the time. Now, he had all kinds of package deals and art, thrown in there, all kinds of crazy stuff. And then he inevitably probably had to hire a crap load of people to box the stuff and send it out and do it all. But what he showed was that he didn't need the publishers. Like, publishers were banging down his door. Usually the publishers, we talked about this in one of our first episodes, the big publishers are taking like 85% of first time authors. Once you've established yourself, you can negotiate a little bit. But for him, who's a bestseller, every book he writes is a bestseller now, they're probably like, hey, can we do everything for you and just take 10% of your $500 million you're going to make on this book? And that he probably said, that's a pretty good deal. I got a lot of stuff to do. But what he did on this, $41 million, didn't have to pay the editors anything, had to pay Kickstarter, their cut 10% or whatever. I'm sure they were excited. And then he had to, get everything out to the people. But if he's the Book Funnel is, if he got all his digital books through Book Funnel and all his audiobooks from Book Funnel, that he wasn't paying anything. He was, paying the $40 a month for over 5,000 downloads or something like that, as opposed to 30% of your profit on Amazon or whatever. So, man, it can be a really good deal. And then so I knew about that, and then I had one of the guys I was helping write his book last January. I helped him get his book on there, and they made like 13 grand. And 13 grand is it's not exactly 13 grand in your pocket, because you still got to pay for the cost of the book to be made, and you got to figure out if you're gonna sign them, then they got to ship it to you, and then you're gonna have to ship it to them, and you have to figure out all those costs in. So, but 13 grand, he definitely put something in his pocket, hopefully about half of it. And then the same thing, the second about in March that year, I helped another guy that I ghost wrote his memoir, and I helped him launch it. And he also got 13 grand. So those are, I mean, that's more than a lot. Like, I've seen people get more than that, but usually they're really well known. And these two people in particular weren't particularly well known. So like a no-name author, which Ben was, but he had a pretty good following on LinkedIn and Facebook and stuff, Instagram. But like I said, if you make $500 and you spent like 5 hours on it, then you made $500 down payment on your cover, which is half your cover price maybe in some cases. So, and then I know you're launching your new children's book and you're using the Kickstarter. I guess before I turn it over to you about your experience with this, I would just say, make sure you do some research, make sure you watch some YouTube videos. You can definitely do it all yourself. There's every Kickstarter deal, even Brandon Sanderson's $41 million one is up on Kickstarter, the history of it. All you have to do is search like children's books or fantasy books or whatever you're selling, and you'll probably find someone who's done it. And you can look at what they made, and you can also look at what they did. And there's no shame in copying their, marketing plan. And so just, don't plan on like doing it one weekend and it's up. You're going to have to, copy edit your own stuff and proofread it and make sure you got all the I's dotted and T's crossed and things like that. So plan on spending 2 or 3 weeks. I sent you, when you were doing yours, I sent you a link. I forgot her name now. I can't remember, Maddie or something like that. But she's awesome, and she just did her own Kickstarter for her romance book. And I'll look it up while you're talking. If you want to, I'll shift over to how your experience with Kickstarter.
No, thanks, man. You're right about all of that. So my favorite part about Kickstarter, because initially I'm like, well, I don't need a GoFundMe, right? I don't want to ask somebody to just hand me cash because to like donate money or something. Like, I feel like, no, this is essentially a personal but also a commercial venture. But one of the things I love about Kickstarter is it's not a GoFundMe. What it is it's basically a chance for you to author or to you to offer early adopters, right? Your initial readers, the people who are willing to pick your book, you can offer them a discount. So in my case, instead of buying, a hardback for $25, you could buy a hardback for $20 if you're willing to go in early on it. And so I like, as a consumer, that with Kickstarter. I've kickstarted, 8 or 10 things on Kickstarter. I get a good deal because I'm willing to go in early on this guy who's got this vision. He gets a good deal because it helps him defer his upfront costs. And so it's a win-win deal. And that's what I like about Kickstarter is it doesn't feel like I'm begging or that it's exploitive, because I'm not asking you for anything except to buy a copy of the book. And I'm actually going to give you a better deal than you would get if you waited till launch anyway. So I feel that it's a bit of a win-win. But my Kickstarter experience has been very much like yours. So this is the first time I've ever run one. It's for The Whale and the Kraken. It's about a kid's book. And I did just what you've done. So I went onto Kickstarter.com. I looked at children's books. I went and queried the ones that have, hit 200 or 300% or greater of their original pledge desire, like their goal. And I was like, well, what do these do? How did these succeed? And there's a lot of trends. And well, then what you could do is you could take that same thing. You can say, okay, let's look at the ones, okay, they've got these reward tiers that make a lot of sense. They've got a really engaging visual with a good solid video. When you scroll down through it, it looks like something you'd want to look at. It's not just a wall of text. It's got some images to kind of draw you in. It's got, a little bit of story on like the meaning behind this. You can get to know the author a little bit. And then I went on to ChatGPT because, why not? I don't know anything about marketing. It's like, hey, help me structure a campaign for Kickstarter that involves these things. Because what I didn't know is the mechanics behind it. Like, okay, well, how much do I need to charge per copy? How do I need to know how much to set my pledge amounts for to hit a goal of this? And AI is pretty good at that kind of data aggregation. And so it was like, hey, what you should do is look for, 5 to 10 pledge levels. You should make sure that you have cheap one for people who just want to get in a little bit, and sexier ones from there that kind of offer more for people who want to get in a little more. And then you want to have some kind of larger, like heavyweight ones for original and unique things, because some people are really attracted to that. And so what I did is I put all that together in the old Redonculator and just devved out this tiered list of what I thought was necessary to kind of get the book out. And then I thought in my head of the ways I would like to take this. So for me, children's books are hardback business. Like I mean, it's a little bit of a bias. That's just kind of how I like it. But I always loved the big cloth bound like chapter books when I was a kid. You know, your Shel Silversteins, your Roald Dahls, like those big books that really just suck you in. And I wanted to produce one. And so I'm like, well, it's expensive to produce an initial cloth bound hardback book. If you want to do that, you can do a normal hardback on Amazon and you could put those out and that's fine. But if you want to really take it to the next level and make it look like one of those books you remember as a kid, you could do it through like BookVault or some other publishers. I think, oh gosh, who's the other one? It doesn't matter. BookVault's the one I'm using. Zuna? I don't remember the other one. But I priced a couple out. And it's like, I can do this, but I kind of need enough demand to make it worth it. If you just put together 3 of those, okay, that's fine for you, but what are you going to do? Are you going to put them in your garage? You can't sell them on Amazon. Are you going to sell them direct at a store? So I thought the Kickstarter would be a good way to say, if I can get enough demand for like 20 to 25 copies of this, well, then I'll get 50 printed. This will help defer the cost of that. And then I'll have those extra copies to walk around to a local library and do an engagement event, or go to a school, or go to a local coffee shop, to a local author event. And so Kickstarter gives you the ability to kind of mitigate some of the upfront costs, but also to provide good value to your readers and to build that readership so that when you do launch the book on Amazon, you've got 50 to 100, 200, maybe more people who you can already say, maybe they'll be willing to leave a review on Amazon. Maybe they can get them out there. Maybe you can get that initial launch pain down, because launching a book's hard and getting over that initial hump is real tough. And if you could help buy that down through a successful Kickstarter, well, then my hope is that'll provide some value. That'll help you as an author, and it'll also help the reader. But that's kind of in a nutshell kind of how I took it.
Yeah, and so I put the link in the chat if there's anyone out there. But Mandy Lynn, MandiLynn, she's got a really good YouTube channel about publishing, writing, self-publishing, editing, formatting books, and talking about all kinds of different software. So that's the direct link to the Kickstarter one. And that's the one I sent you, which was I thought probably useful. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm glad you're doing it. I'm interested to see a month, 28 days from now, after or maybe 5 weeks from now, once you're finished with this one, how it works out for you, and kind of see the results. And then, I know your other book's going to come out early next year. So that's really the one you're focusing on. This is your test case, more or less.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a kid's book. It's the first, I guess, major kids book I put together. I have a couple others, but they're just stuff I wrote with my daughter. And so I want to use this as one, access to a new market. It's really hard to kind of switch markets, right? My market is primarily a veterans market. It's an older market. It's guys I connected with over the years and friends of a friend. Kids books are totally different. And so this is the chance to kind of expand authorship in another direction, but also to learn from it and to figure out the Kickstarter process and to figure out like, okay, this one will probably go okay, but how do I make it go better? And that's what I want to do with the next one. So hopefully, we'll learn and we'll have some new information that we can share with the community. And then maybe, even from an editing services point of view, this is another, arrow in the quiver of things we could provide for people who are interested in writing, but not necessarily interested in all of the dirty details that go into actually producing a book. It's dirtier than it seems.
I mean, this goes back to what we talked about you're going to have to market your own book. And so this is just another stream of income, and that maybe offsets the creation part before you actually launch it. Because after you do this, you're going to have to put it on Amazon eventually. You can sell it on your own website, which we've talked about as well, is kind of up and coming. But if you don't have a way to get the funnel to get people to find it on your website, people are going to find it on Amazon. People are going to look for it on Amazon anyway. It's just easier. Everyone I know gets the next day mail from Amazon. They sign up for the Amazon whatever Plus or whatever it's called.
Yep.
And then I also sign up for Kindle, so I get my free Kindle books. And so, they're going to look for it on Kindle. They're going to download it straight to the Kindle without doing 3 extra clicks because everyone's lazy. And so you can still push, if you want to make more money, like you can make up to 90% of your print books, minus the print fee, as opposed to 60% on Amazon. And you can do that on your website, but you got to push people there. And then you always have to, and really, unless you're just going to be a dork about it, you need to go, hey, I'd like you to buy it for me if you don't mind, and getting it in a couple of days instead of next day, blah, blah, blah. Otherwise, here's the Amazon link, because, some people are just like, it's on Amazon. I don't know.
Yep. I wish it were other than what you're saying, but the reality is that I have 3 links for each book on my website. I do direct sales off my website. I set it up. It's not terribly expensive. It's, let's say, $50 a month total to run a web store to have it functional. Yeah, I do Wix and I do BookFunnel. So Wix, BookFunnel are my 2 big ones. But you can run through the store. But the reality is, I keep that 3rd link or if you prefer Amazon, the reality is 90% of my sales go through that link. Why? Because it's just easier. It's just what you just said. I don't got to get my credit card out. I don't have to worry about putting it into this thing. Like, I don't know this website. Who is this guy? I'm just going to click Amazon. I need to think of a creative way to say, just so you know, when you click that link, you're giving 60% of the money to Jeff Bezos. Yeah, exactly. But at the end, somebody's buying a book. And if they're buying a book, I can't be upset that they're buying a book. And that's fine. And honestly, it's selling through Amazon has lots of other spin-off benefits that direct sales don't. And so don't underestimate the value of it being, number 1, number 2 on its category list, or, the Amazon cost per click product ads are actually pretty affordable when you compare them to Facebook ads and you look at like their conversion rates. So it's not bad to be on Amazon. It's just, hey, if you can build that magic readership that all buys from direct from you, then good on you. You've succeeded. You've won. For the rest of us, not quite there yet.
Yeah. And so I think Kickstarter, there's I know a lot of, beginning authors or even they got their first book out and now they got a little bit of a fan base and a newsletter. And then they launched their second one just so that they can get the Kickstarter. If you got 200 people following your newsletter after you launch your book, ideally those 200 people are going to buy your second book. And if they buy them on the Kickstarter, then it's cheaper for them and it's more money in your pocket, just like you said. So it's a win-win, and they can get one signed if they really liked your book too. So it just makes sense. 200 books, make $5 a copy. There you go. You paid off, the cover, you paid off the formatting or whatever. So, and then hopefully you get another 200 people following your newsletter, and your 3rd book comes out, you do another Kickstarter, and really it's just for your fans, if nothing else, because all those people, everyone on your social media, everyone who's subscribed to your newsletter, ideally, most of those people are going to buy your next book, and then you just need to tell them that it's available.
I think, especially with series, that it should work that way. My hope is that it works that way, because the next book I'm going to put out is going to be in a series, and I already structured the series out on Amazon. Amazon, again, has great functionality for authors, so you can mark it so that right under the title of the book, it says book 2 of 1 or 2 of 2 in the series, whatever. And so when a person buys your book, just like I do, I'm like, whoa, there's another book in this series. I want to check that out too. And if you click on it and it's only, $4 or $5, you're like, let's do it. Let's get that other book at the same time. And that is why they say the best way to sell a book is to write another book, right? But especially in a series, because then you get that entire sort of added market exposure that comes automatically. You don't even have to advertise all the books. You just advertise your last book, and that means people will automatically be pulled into the rest of them. And that's super powerful. So that's what we hope.
Yeah, so when I went to that conference, I think I mentioned this in a previous episode, but he had like 15 books in his series, and he's like, I only advertise the first and last one, because the last one I need to push out for all the people who are waiting for it. And then I know that's when I'm going to get the best possibility of like number 1 in a certain genre or something, because ideally like those 200 people pre-order it, or they order it the first weeks they want to read it, or those 2,000 people or whatever. And then, so I know those are sure buys. And then I continuously advertise the first one, because if I can get people to buy the first one and they like my series, then they'll buy the rest. And then they'll join my newsletter, and then they'll be on the list for the next time I get my book out. And that's it. That's he said, basically my marketing kind of budget kind of went like this. and then it's kind of tapered out because now I only have to do those two. I don't have to, and I've already figured out what works for my audience too. That's if you got 15 books out, you've tried 25, 50 different kind of types of ads, and you know what the click ratio on them is. So you're just going to do the same one with the new book cover, and everyone's like, "Oh, the new book's out," and that's all you need to know. And you know what works for your first time buyers. You know what works for your last time buyers. So yeah,
it's definitely becomes an efficiency game. Like there's a lot of trial and error that goes into advertising, and we do talk. It's weird. We talk a good bit about advertising on this show, but if you're a new author, you need to appreciate exactly how much advertising is going to become a part of your life if you want to sell any books at all. And so the name of the game is efficiency and kind of cost per conversion, and getting that down is really, really hard for all the reasons you're describing, right? Like early on, you don't even know what people are going to click on. I don't have a marketing degree. I know nothing about marketing. And so there's a lot of trial and error that goes into just crafting an ad at all. But even then you have to figure out, well, okay, make people click on it means that they cost you money, but when people buy, you make money. And so there's this unfortunate gap where the advertiser gets paid when they click. You don't get paid unless they buy. And so how do you maximize the number of people who click that actually buy? I don't know the answer yet. We're still working on that, but that's the trick. If you can master that efficiency, whether it's by just so many books in a series and you only have to advertise one, so actually that gives you like 15 times the exposure that one click gives you. Maybe that's a way. Maybe another way is just to really know who to send it to, the people who actually buy books. And I'm going to experiment with a couple other platforms like BookBub to see if maybe there's a way to not market to the world, but to market to just readers, people who actually buy books, and figure out what it is, what you have to do to make that work. But that is the magic. And so aside from writing a good book, which I think a lot of people can write good books, you have to actually find a way to sell your book, and Amazon's not going to do it for you. So you got to figure that shit out.
Yeah, I run a couple of cohorts, and I was having a discussion. We were talking about, hey, what's your hey, let's pivot to Barnes and Nobles because Tony's here right now, and
bring him in.
And then we'll talk about it later. Hey, Tony.
Hey, Randy. Sorry I'm late, y'all.
No problem, man. So this is Dan. He co-hosts this with me. So everyone who's here, Tony is I helped ghostwrite his memoir, which is doing pretty well actually on Amazon. And specifically, we were talking about marketing, Tony, and we were talking about using Kickstarter, but you've done something neither of us have done. You've contacted and sold your books in Barnes and Noble. So we kind of wanted to know if you want to tell everybody what your book's about, and then tell about how you started selling your books in Barnes and Noble and sign them.
Yes. My book's about starting off straight edge, no drugs, no promiscuous sex, no cigarettes, and it was a way of life. And then one day I went from hardcore straight edge to hardcore drug addict almost overnight in New Orleans, Louisiana, a couple of weeks before my 18th birthday. And talks about me, my time in the Navy, how I messed that all up from alcohol. And then I got another opportunity to go into the Army, and then I messed that up with I got hurt on a jump, and I was showered with opioids. It's the beginning of the opioid crisis back in the early 2000s, and I was on 6 different opioids and 2 benzos at one time because there's no communication between civilian pain management and military pain management, and I wasn't going to say anything. And then it talks about me coming out on the other side, clean and sober, getting my college degree and working on my master's. That's the gist of it.
And
that's awesome.
And so it was great. It was great thanks for letting me help write it for you, and with Lydia too. And then how did you think about calling Barnes and Noble, and how that all go down?
I was at the comic book store, and I was talking to this guy Angel who owns the comic book store, and he said that he got in touch with the local bookstore, and they carried his book. He just sent him a book proposal. So I started sending out emails, and Barnes and Noble got back in touch with me and said, "We'd love to host you. We'd love to do public or local authors, and just send us a book proposal about what your book is about, the title, the audience, target audience, and we'll get back to you if you're interested." And 3 days later, they got back in touch with me and picked a date. I went up there and sold my book. I sold 17 of them. And then They offered me a chance to come back. They said, you're more than welcome to come back.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Did you record that with a local manager? So it's Barnes and Noble is. I had one experience with Barnes and Noble. I just exchanged it with you. I went in and talked to the local manager, and he's like, "Well, if your book's only on print on demand, if you can only get on Amazon, if it's not stocked through like Ingram or one of the big ones, then we really can't sell it unless we work like an individual contract, and we don't usually do that." So I would just be curious to hear like how that works. Like, did you talk to the local manager and he was just good with it?
His name is Marcus, and I sent him an email, and it was all through. I can actually send Randy the actual book proposal and the email address everything that I sent to him. It shows exactly what I did. I used ChatGPT, of course. It helped me out a lot with it because I'm not that creative, and it got my foot in the door, and I did pretty well. I was shy at first, and then people from the VA came in and started helping me sell the books. So I just sit back and wait for some people to come to me. But this girl Ashley said, "Hey, look, we got a veteran over here. He's selling a book. Come over." And a lot of guys and there's an AIT here, 35 and 25 series AITs here at Fort Gordon, and there's jump wings on my book, so that grabbed some attention to some of the guys. One of the guys going to my sister 112th Signal Brigade, my 528's sister company, and we got to talk, and he bought a couple books from me. So I sold probably most of the books were to AIT students.
That's awesome though, right? Like there's something really cool about those local events where you get to sit down, talk to the people face to face. I mean, we talk a lot about digital marketing on this program just because that's such a big audience, but the face to face stuff I think is a super good way to just meet new readers, meet people who might like what you write, and then get to know them on a personal level. It's awesome you got to do that.
Exactly. I met another lady who just put a book out, kids book, and she was interested in how I got the opportunity at Barnes and Noble. And she actually has a publisher. It's like Sunny Rainbow Publishing or something like that, Blue Bunny Publishing. And she didn't realize that it was that easy to get your foot in the door at the Barnes and Noble in Augusta, Georgia. I don't know what it is across the board, but in Augusta, Georgia, it was fairly easy. It was
That's awesome.
I signed 2 pieces of paperwork. I got 60%. They kept 40% of the sales.
Is that after the print fee or?
Yeah, and then so I bought 30 books, cost me $96. And then if I'd have sold all 30, it'd have been $300, $180 profit for me. So I would have made $90 profit. But I only sold was 17 times $170 worth.
That makes sense.
So Tony did this, and then he got accepted by Barnes and Noble, and he writes me this panicked email, and he's like, "How do I buy multiple books from Amazon? What do I do?" And I was like, and so I sent him like a video on how to get his author copies, because for those of you who don't know, you can get author copies, which is just basically the cost of print plus a little bit more. It's not the $20, whatever you're trying to sell it for to make profit. And so that's where he got his author copies. Maybe Book Vault's a little cheaper. I think you mentioned that, Ben.
I found Book Vault to be sometimes Amazon. I don't know what your experience has been, but occasionally when I tried to order author copies, Amazon has put them with like a big dirty thing across the front that says not for resale. Like they've kind of fouled it up because they want to make sure you don't do that. So I don't know if that's like a new policy, but that was what happened with my recent ones. So I did switch to Book Vault to do all my printing, and they'll print a paperback for $3 and some change and a hardback for closer to $8, which I found to be pretty reasonable in terms of selling them.
Oh, because that's what I'm getting at Barnes and Noble was $3 a print for a hardback. I mean, for a paperback, and it was something like 12 or 13 for a hardback.
It's worth considering. I mean, there's all kinds of printing places, right? And I'm sure they all give different deals, and probably the shipping on where you are will probably drive some of that too. But yeah, I found Book Vault to be pretty solid. They take, let's say, 4 or 5 days to process my order and ship it, but usually within a week I'll get the 60 books or whatever I ordered, and they're pretty cheap, and they give you good invoicing. So when you keep track of the records, it's not too painful.
Hey, that's one thing I'm not good at is keeping track of records.
So that's like the other problem of all this is at the end of the year you owe the IRS sales tax on this stuff, and anytime you do digital sales, obviously that's not cash. So there's a trail. Anyway, that's we talk about
taxes in 8 years. So
well, good on you, man. I feel that I can't get away with that. So I don't
well, 100%. Let me put that out there. I'm 100%. disabled IU, so I'm unable to.
That makes
I
sense.
haven't been avoiding the IRS. That's what I'm trying.
that makes
justified.
perfect sense.
But
That
now
makes
you're,
perfect
now you're
sense.
making, yeah, now you're making, but you're probably making less. I don't know what your other job is, but if you might have to look at you might have to look at what you're making with your books and take away the print price and figure that all out at the end of the year this year. I don't know.
It's gonna be a headache. That's one thing I'm not
It's-
looking forward to.
But there's a great headache, right? If you're selling enough books that you're hitting tax brackets, then hey man, that's good. That's good author business to be in.
And when it all worked out, I had this 22-year-old kid who wants to go to SFAS, and that was my dream. And I was done with the first, I was already in the special operations unit, going to Whiskey One, first 18 months, 6 months of the 18 Delta program. Had my foot in the door, and I got hurt on a jump and messed everything up, and I lived with a lot of regret. And this kid doesn't want to live with the same regret I did, and he has alcohol problems. He's asked me to be a sponsor, and since then I'm his sponsor now. So he's trying to go in March to Camp McCall.
So this is a guy
That's
that read
awesome.
your book, right? And wrote you.
Yes. He got in touch with me on Instagram, and he said that he didn't want. His words were, "I don't want to carry the burden you carry."
That's awesome. I mean, that's what we all want as writers, though, is to like touch a person and have the person like learn from the experience that you put out there and say like, this was valuable to me as a human. This made me a better human. What a great feeling that's got to be. That's so good.
It is. Experience, strength, and hope of other addicts. There's this saying in Narcotics Anonymous: the therapeutic value of one addict helping another addict is without parallel. And that's the reason I put the book out. I wanted to do this, and
That's awesome, man.
I'm gonna go to his graduation. I'm gonna go to his dawning. So I have faith in him.
That's awesome.
He's got 62 days clean now. He does.
Well, SFAS will help with that. I mean, maybe he's creative enough to get booze at SFA. There's no way in hell I could do it. So I couldn't have gotten away with that. So I think he'll be at least good there. But yeah, we joke, but the Army, I mean, as you know, it's kind of a bad environment for that. Like, it's tough. It's a tough environment to be around because so many young guys are such hard partiers, and I could see why that'd be a challenge.
It's not a conducive environment to sobriety. It's not at all.
No, it wasn't for me. It wasn't for, I'm sure, Randy too. It's just not.
I never had a problem. I just said no. Serious. Like, I never had a problem. I just got a Coke. I'm good.
Disease of addiction. I just can't say no. It's the hardest thing. It took me for a long time to admit that it was a disease, but it is. It helps me justify some of the things that I did. It makes me feel better about myself.
So just some self-promotion, and maybe this will help people too. So Tony was the first of my packages that I helped with veteran memoirs, because Tony applied to the Ghostwriting Association for a ghostwriter for his book. And the minimum they charge anyone who's a member charges like $25,000.
Yes.
And so he did like 2 or 3 interviews with them. They're like, "Oh yeah, we can do it, $25,000." And I saw his pitch when he was looking for a ghostwriter, and I was like, I don't know if this is the right place for him. So I wrote him, said, "Hey, I'm a veteran, give me a call." And I said, "Hey, did you talk to a few people?" And he's like, "Yeah, I don't have $25,000." I was like, "That makes a lot." And so I did a special package for what he wanted, because he didn't want, like, Dan, how long was your first memoir?
Like 250 pages, I think.
Like words, like $50,000 or $40,000, $60,000, something like that.
Yeah. Just I think 50 and some change. Yeah.
Yeah, but he wanted to write something different. He wanted to write a cautionary tale about, opioid abuse from the military docs and the civilian and medical doctors not talking to each other, and how easy it was to kind of go over cross the line a little bit. And so when I realized that, we talked about it. I was like, okay, we don't need to talk about the first 18 years of your life, and we don't need to really talk about we just need to talk about this period here where you were abusing things and how you got clean, and then leave a message for the reader. That's what we want. And I think I can do that in 25,000 words. I think it was 27,000 words total or something. So I think I can do that, and I do it like in 10 hours of interviews, and I just kind of like focused it on what he wanted to do. And we made it was pretty reasonable. And we got a payment plan, and it was really, And that's kind of what I wanted to do for any future, vets out there that want to do something like that, because you have a story that you want to put a message out there. It doesn't need to be a freaking huge book. It doesn't need to be your whole life. It just needs to be that part that's going to teach the lesson to the vet or to the person that's the reader.
All the reviews I get, all the verbal comments I get, are no one's left a written review yet, but everybody who's read the book and talked to me about it says it's short, it's sweet, it's to the point, you don't BS around, and it's a great read. It's an easy read.
Yep,
No, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's what we wanted to do. So,
well, we talk a lot about targeted audiences here, but I think one thing we haven't talked about is the value of a book, and it's what you're talking about, where it's the value. I mean, the book in itself is a good thing, but the book as kind of a way to build a platform. Like, okay, if I want to help people who are struggling with addiction, well, a book adds credibility. It gives it's almost like a greeting card for people who want to talk to you, and you can expand that. You can expand that into, engagement. You can go meet these people, you can go talk to them. And so a book can be almost a powerful business card, if you want to look at it that way, to kind of introduce who you are. And so the idea that it would be 25 G's just to get your story out there, like, man, you better have a hell of a story if you could be shelling out that kind of money. I haven't made 25 grand on any book that I've published, so I have a hard time imagining shelling out 25 grand for it. Like, man, I better be generating some sweet returns somewhere.
I was shocked when I got that quote back. I was like, this can't be right. And then Randy came along, and we got the message out there. There's another thing in Narcotics or Anonymous, and Alcoholics Anonymous, and Runners of Recovery, about doing service work, just going and making coffee, setting up the chairs, just doing small things, and putting this book out is you're absolutely right. It's like a calling card. It's my service work to help others try to realize there's another way to live.
That's awesome. It's awesome. That's a really powerful thing. But man, I'm just looking at that. I'm like, man, $50 an hour is 500 hours. That's a 500 hour. I mean, Randy, you're a ghostwriter. Is it a 500 hour process to write a book? I guess it could be.
But ghostwriters don't charge $50 an hour, buddy.
Yeah, I guess they charge a little more than that, huh?
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, fair enough.
They can charge the ones I know don't charge less than 100. There's some that are charging $250.
Man, that'd be quite a story at the end.
Yeah, a hell of a story at the end. That kind of money. That's attorney fees.
And I will say, I mean, as a guy who writes a lot, you do put a lot into writing, right? It's not like, I mean, you're not going out and working at Circle K or something. Like, it's some serious investment. So I get it. But at the same time, that's a huge deterrent to anybody who wants to put their story on paper. If you don't got that kind of money, your story's never going to get told. And that's kind of an unfortunate fact for the world.
I mean, it's hard to live in some of this stuff.
I've done probably about 15 memoirs now, 15 or 20, like written them for people. And I got it down where if I do the interview, I can look at a split sheet on the interview and just take their exact words and just make it clean it up a little bit and feed it back to them, and then reorganize thoughts and things like that. And I can, for every hour of interview, I can spend 2 hours fixing it. And then I can have the whole interview in a chapter, whatever that is, probably 2 or 3 chapters, if it's an hour or 2 hours long. So I can have 3 chapters in 2 hours just based off what they said. So 1 hour, one hour of interview equals 2 chapters in 2 hours. And so by the end of 10 hours of interviews, I pretty much I've only 2 people I've talked to took more than 10 hours. And both of them were like in their 80s, and they just had these crazy life stories where they did so much in their 80 years that it was freaking nuts. And it took me one of them took me 20 and the other took me like 18. But for most people, 10 hours is plenty. And so really it takes me 30 hours to write someone's memoir. And then we're talking, like, I'm not talking 60,000 words, Dan. I'm talking 30 to 40.
That makes sense. No, I mean, that's it. I mean, you get it down. You do it a lot. So you got it down as a business. You kind of understand that goes into it. I mean, for me, I'm totally guessing. So kind of foreign territory.
Also, it also depends what they want. Like, Tony wanted to get his message out, right? I did another one. took me 50, 60, 70 hours, but he wanted an artistic book. He wanted me to write like JD Vance's memoir, And,
Yeah.
and so, and as a result, that takes a lot more time, right? I got to I can take what he's given me and I got to recreate the scene in my head and write it from his point of view. Like he's playing softball when he's 10. He's like, "Hey, fatso." And so I got to put all these things in there based on the interview.
Yeah.
And then I got to say, "Is this good?" He's like, "Fatso's a little harsh. Can we change it to fatty?" I'm like, yeah, okay. Then we have to have that back and forth too, And so that's a different someone. If someone wants that, they got to have big pocketbooks. But he did, and it worked out for him. That's what he wanted to do. So that's fine too. But I know people like Tony, where this is what they want, and they don't want it artistic. They want a message. They want to get a message out to the other vets or to whoever their ideal reader is, and I can do that in a abbreviated way. And it's still a good book. It's easy to read. And it gets the message across. And I think I've tapered this. Like we've talked about this, Dan, where I'm trying to get a nonprofit going. Where ideally, if I get enough funds in the nonprofit, vets can come to me like Tony, who don't have much, and I can say, okay, the nonprofit's got it. I'll hook you up with a ghostwriter that's a vet also, and we'll get this written, and they'll get money from the nonprofit to write your story, and you won't have to worry about it, or you'll pay 50% or something like that. So that's really what I want.
That's awesome that you do that. Because I got one vet that I've sent to you. I talked to him. I go to CERC on Mondays, Substance Use Recovery Command at the Augusta VA on Mondays and Fridays, and I see him every Monday and Friday. And he said he still hasn't got in touch with you, but he plans on it. He's a little flaky, but I sent
my favorite customers are the flaky ones.
But he talks about it every day. He wants me to say that he's still interested in it. But just get on it, man. It's not that hard.
All right. Well, hey, appreciate you coming on, Tony. It was thanks for sharing about Barnes and Noble. It's something we hadn't even jumped into yet.
I'll send you that. I'll send you exactly what I sent to him to WhatsApp right now.
All right, appreciate it. Yeah, and I'll share it with Dan.
All right, it's great to meet you, Dan. Thank you for having me.
No, likewise. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate you coming on Tony's Story, man.
All right, y'all take care. Good night.
Yeah,
you too.
So, so I think, I mean, Dan, maybe it's worth it for you to go to other bookstores too, not just Barnes and Nobles, but I think even local bookstores or even used bookstores, maybe. I don't know.
I'll try it. I'm going to keep going. I've got a couple in mind for this one to see what I can do.
I wonder if your children's books will be better at this than maybe your other books too.
It's possible. It's also locally themed. Like it's based on something that's in the community. It's based on the Wailing Wall, which is, a big touristy thing. So we're going to knock this Kickstarter out. And then once it's printed and it's real, I'm going to take it around and we'll see what we can do.
They got Barnes and Nobles in Destin, don't they?
They do. They do have Barnes and Noble in Destin, and a Books a Million and a couple others. But
when did you approach Barnes and Nobles last time?
It was a summer I first got back, so I guess 15 months ago. And talking to the local manager, he was just like, "Look, it's challenging here because we live in a vacation spot, and so people don't follow our Barnes and Noble. They come and swing by and get a book before they go home. They follow the Barnes and Noble, and they really engage locally with the Barnes and Noble that is in the community where they live. But Destin, obviously, a huge touristy place, so not as much in the way of local business.
What if you Pensacola? That's less.
So, and that's the question. Mobile, Pensacola. There's a bunch of other places around here that aren't too far away that would probably be more appealing. But honestly, I still got a day job, so I gotta balance. I gotta balance these things against doing work too. So we'll see what we can do.
Well, I think we could end early today. I think we talked Kickstarter to death, and the Barnes and Nobles things I think is really interesting. He's the first one I met who succeeded there.
That's awesome.
I was really surprised when he hit me up too. I was like, really? That's amazing. And
so it seems like it would be such a simple transaction to just say, hey, look, I'll bring it in. I'll give you whatever percent. I'll keep whatever percent. I'll sell here. You're not asking to stock so much as you're asking to just sell off the table. But
Yeah.
but I don't know. Again, it's probably store dependent. I don't know how Barnes and Noble is structured as a franchise, but
But
apparently it would be very, very store dependent.
when did that British guy take over? Because the British guy bought the Barnes and Nobles because it was kind of failing, and he was the one that brought the big bookstore chain in Britain back from the almost going bankrupt, and that's why it's all focused on games and records and things like that now. But
That's interesting.
but they still have a big children's section for sure.
Mhm.
So I think when he did that, maybe there's a little bit. It wasn't too long ago. Maybe it might have been longer than 18 months, but I can't remember. But maybe they started changing their mentality and looking.
I don't know. I'll go check it out. I'll go talk. We're gonna check it out. We're gonna get this Kickstarter going. We're gonna get it launched, and then once I got some books in hand, we'll go try and peddle the wares, which is part of just local author business.
All right, sounds good, man. Hey, it's good to see you again. I'll see you next week.
Likewise, Randy. Always a pleasure, man. Thanks for tuning in. Anybody that did.
All right, take care, guys.